In 2003, the Nokia 1100 launched and became the best-selling mobile phone in history. Over 250 million units sold. A phone with no camera, no internet, and a battery that lasted a week. Today, you can't buy a phone without a camera, and you're lucky if the battery lasts a day. This is a countdown of 20 things that were completely normal in 2003, Britain that have since vanished. And by the end, you'll understand that they didn't just disappear. They were traded away, one by one, for things we never asked for. Number 3 is the one nobody saw coming. 2003 was a hinge year. Concorde made its final flight. 3 launched the UK's first 3G network. The Iraq War started. The iTunes Store opened in America. Though we wouldn't get it here until 2004, because in 2003 Britain was still buying CDs from actual shops, on actual high streets, with actual cash. It was the last full year where the old world was still winning. Most households had internet, but most of that internet was still dial-up. Your phone was still just a phone. Your telly still had 5 channels unless you'd splashed out on Sky. And everything on this list was so normal, so unremarkable, that nobody thought to say goodbye. I make one thing on this channel. I find out exactly what we traded when technology got better. If you want to know why the stuff that was supposed to improve your life somehow made it more complicated, more expensive, and less yours, subscribe. Number 20. Teletext Holidays. You'd press the text button on your remote, punch in page 160 something, and wait while blocky coloured text loaded one line at a time. And there they were. Last-minute package holidays to Benidorm for £149, Tenerife for £199, all-inclusive. No cookies, no dynamic pricing, no algorithm noticing you'd searched 3 times and bumping the price up by 40 quid. The price on the screen was the price. You'd write down the phone number, ring up, and book it. Now you need 12 browser tabs, a VPN, and a private browsing window, just to get anywhere close to an honest deal on a flight. Booking a holiday used to take 5 minutes on your sofa. Now it's a chess match against software designed to extract the maximum amount from your wallet. The telly used to save you money. Now it watches you spend it. Number 19, the phone book. A thick yellow slab that arrived on your doorstep every year, whether you wanted it or not. You needed a plumber, you found one. No reviews, no star ratings, no sponsored results pushed above the actual answer. Just alphabetical order. The yellow pages stopped printing in 2019. Nobody noticed because Google had already replaced it, along with your ability to find a local business without that business paying to be found. Number 18, the separate alarm clock. A dedicated box on your bedside table with one job, wake you up. You set it, you slept, it screamed at you in the morning, and that was your only interaction. No notifications, no temptation to check just one thing at midnight. Your bedroom was a room for sleeping. Now your alarm is your phone, and your phone is an infinite distraction machine sitting 6 inches from your unconscious brain all night. One device, one job, the best sleep you ever had. Number 17, the A to Z map. A battered book of London streets, or whichever city you lived near, stuffed in the glove box or shoved in a jacket pocket. You planned your route before you left the house. You memorized landmarks. You turned the book sideways and traced the route with your finger. You developed an actual sense of direction, because there was no alternative. If you got lost, you figured it out. A 2020 UCL study found that London taxi drivers who trained on the knowledge had measurably larger hippocampi, the part of the brain responsible for spatial memory and navigation. Sat-navs and Google Maps don't build that neural architecture. They replace it. We outsourced one of the most fundamental human skills, knowing where you are, to a voice that says, recalculating. And when the signal drops, most of us are genuinely helpless. We traded spatial intelligence for convenience, and the refund policy is non-existent. Number 16, pay-as-you-go top-up cards. You'd walk into a newsagent, ask for a £10 Vodafone top-up, and scratch the silver strip off the back with a coin. Then, you'd dial the free number. punch in the 16-digit code and hear that beautiful automated voice confirm your balance. That tenner lasted a week if you were careful, longer if you were tight. Texts cost 10 pence each, which meant every message mattered. You didn't send LOL or K because those single letters cost the same as a considered paragraph. You thought before you typed. Every text was edited in your head before your thumbs touched the keypad. Now you've got an unlimited contract for 35 quid a month, and you send 400 messages a week that say almost nothing. Communication got cheaper and somehow less valuable at the same time. When sending a message had a cost, the message had weight, 10 pence a text, and every one of them meant something. Number 15, the CD single. 3 quid 99 from WH Smith or Our Price, 2 tracks and a remix. A physical object you could hold, lend, lose, and find again behind the sofa 3 years later. In 2003, the UK singles chart was still driven by physical sales. The BPI reported that CD singles accounted for the vast majority of chart purchases. Now a single is a file on a server you don't own, on a platform that can remove it whenever it likes. You used to buy music. Now you rent the right to listen to it. Yours. On your shelf. No subscription required. But here's what nobody talks about. Those first 15 items, they're the obvious losses. The next 5 are where it starts getting uncomfortable. Number 14, MSN Messenger after school. You get home, dump your bag, boot up the family PC, and log into MSN. That green online dot next to your mate's name was a tiny thrill every single time. You'd spend 2 hours talking to people you'd literally just seen at school. But on MSN, the conversations were different. More honest, more playful. You'd agonize over your display name, nudge people to get their attention, and carefully curate an away message that made you sound mysterious. In 2003, Microsoft announced that MSN Messenger had hit over 100 million active users worldwide, and it was still growing fast. It was replaced by Skype in 2013, but the truth is, nothing really replaced what it did. WhatsApp is functional, Messenger is cluttered. Nothing recreates that specific ritual of choosing to sit down at a computer and be social. MSN had a beginning and an end. You logged on, you logged off. Modern messaging never stops. You used to go online. Now you can never leave. Number 13, Ceefax. Page 302 for the football scores. Page 100 for the headlines. Those blocky, pixelated pages loading one line at a time on your CRT telly. Ceefax launched in 1974 and ran until October 2012. 38 years of delivering information without tracking you, profiling you, or selling your reading habits to advertisers. It was slow, it was ugly, it was completely private. You pressed a number, you got the information, and the BBC had no idea you'd even looked. Now every click is logged, every scroll is measured, and the information is free because you're paying for it with data instead of money. The news used to just be the news. Now the news is watching you read it. Number 12, the Disposable Camera. A Kodak Funsaver from Boots for about 6 quid. 27 exposures and absolutely no way to see what you'd taken until you dropped the film off at the chemist and waited 3 days. Sometimes 5, if you went for the cheaper development option. Every single photo was a commitment. You composed the shot because you couldn't waste frames. You thought about what was worth keeping before you pressed the button. And that act of choosing made the memory stronger. Holiday photos from 2003 have 12 carefully chosen images, and you remember the story behind every one. Holiday photos from today have 400 identical shots of the same sunset, and you'll never look at any of them. A 2023 study published in Psychological Science found that people who photograph experiences remember fewer details about them than people who simply observe. The researchers called it the photo-taking impairment effect. The camera was supposed to help you remember. Your phone camera helps you forget. Because you've outsourced the act of remembering to a device, and your brain quietly stopped bothering. 27 chances. Everyone mattered. Number 11, the video shop. Not Blockbuster, the independent one on your road. The one run by a bloke called Dave or Steve, who actually watched every film in the shop and could tell you what was good. Friday night was a ritual. Walk in, browse the shelves, pick up cases, read the back, put them down, pick up different ones. Take a punt on something you'd never heard of because Dave said it was a bit like that one you liked last week. The The shop owner was an algorithm that actually understood you because he remembered you, talked to you, and genuinely cared whether you had a good Friday night. Netflix has 17,000 titles, and somehow you spend 40 minutes scrolling and choosing nothing. The independent video shop had 200 VHS tapes, and you walked out with exactly the right one in 3 minutes, plus a bag of Revels from the counter. Curation by a human who cared will always beat recommendation by a machine that doesn't. You never left Dave's shop empty-handed. You leave Netflix empty-eyed. And it gets worse from here, because the next few aren't just things, they're ways of living. Number 10. Friends Reunited. Britain's first proper social network, built in a spare bedroom in Barnet by Steve and Julie Pankhurst. By 2003, it had millions of users, and a beautifully simple premise: find the people you went to school with. That's it. No newsfeed, no likes, no share buttons, no algorithm deciding what you should see or how long you should look at it, no political arguments in the comments, just a quiet curiosity. Whatever happened to that kid who sat behind you in year 9? You paid a small subscription, you browsed some names, maybe you sent a message, then you closed the browser and got on with your life. ITV bought it in 2005 for around £120 million up front, with performance payments potentially taking the total to £175 million. By 2016, it was dead, killed by Facebook. But here's what we lost in the trade. Friends Reunited was curiosity. Facebook is compulsion, one you visited occasionally with a specific question. The other lives inside your phone and never, ever lets you leave. Friends Reunited had no engagement metrics. It didn't need you to stay. Facebook's entire business model depends on making sure you can't stop. We traded a gentle question for an addiction engineered by some of the brightest minds of a generation. Number 9. The portable CD player. A Discman from Argos for about 40 quid. It skipped when you walked too fast, ate AA batteries like nothing else, and weighed enough that you knew it was in your bag. But it played your music. The CDs you'd chosen, bought with your own money, and owned outright. No shuffle across an infinite library, just the 12 tracks the artist intended, in the order they intended, experienced as a complete work from start to finish. You listened to albums, not playlists. You heard the deep cuts, not just the singles. And because you'd paid 4 or 5 quid more for each CD than a single download would later cost, you gave it your attention. You listened properly because the investment demanded it. In 2003, according to the BPI, UK consumers spent over £3 billion on recorded music, and the vast majority of that was physical. You built a CD collection over years, a shelf of cases that said something real about who you were and what you cared about. Your Spotify library says nothing about you because it contains everything and belongs to no one. When you stop paying, every song vanishes. Your music, your order, your choice, yours forever. No monthly fee. Number 8. Woolworths on a Saturday. Still thriving in 2003. 807 shops across Britain, and every single one smelled the same. A specific combination of pick and mix, plastic toys, and something vaguely chemical from the photo counter. You'd go in for a bag of cola bottles and come out with a chart CD, a Simpsons duvet cover, and a birthday present for someone whose party was next week. The pick and mix counter alone was an education in economics. You learned the weight to value ratio of white chocolate mice versus fizzy cola bottles before you'd sat a single maths exam. Woolworths wasn't a shop, it was a ritual. Saturday afternoon, town centre, the familiar red fascia on every high street in the country. It closed in January 2009 and took 27,000 jobs with it. But the real loss wasn't the retail space. It was the pattern, the gravitational pull that brought you to the town centre in the first place. The high street as a place you went on purpose, not a place you passed through on the way to a car park. We didn't just lose a shop, we lost the reason to leave the house. Number 7, the Camcorder. A dedicated device that weighed half a kilo and sat in a padded case in the cupboard under the stairs. It had one purpose: record your family's life. You pressed the red button, you filmed the school nativity or the holiday or the birthday, and then you stopped. The tape went in a drawer labeled Christmas 2003 and came out once a year when someone said, "Remember when?" Nobody watched themselves back immediately. Nobody edited the footage. Nobody uploaded anything. Nobody performed for the camera because the audience was your family, full stop. There was no likes counter, no comment section, no possibility that a stranger in another country would see your daughter's first steps. The footage was private by default, not because of a setting you'd ticked, but because private was the only option. Now every phone is a camcorder, and every camcorder is a broadcast studio, and every birthday party is potential content. We traded private memories for public performance, and we trained an entire generation to experience their lives through a screen held at arm's length. You filmed it because it mattered to you, not because it might matter to an audience. This is the one that actually hurt to research, because number 6 is where 2003 starts to feel like a different civilization. Number 6, the afternoon without your phone. In 2003, most people left their Nokia at home half the time, and nobody cared. You went to the shops, to the park, to a mate's house, and you were simply unreachable for hours at a stretch. If someone needed you, they'd try the landline and leave a message on the answer phone. The world did not end. Nothing collapsed. Nobody was offended. Research from the University of Texas found that the mere presence of a smartphone, even face down, even switched off, measurably reduces available cognitive capacity. Your brain spends resources monitoring the device even when you're not using it. In 2003, you had that full cognitive capacity all the time, by default, without trying. Not because you were more disciplined than people are now, not because you had better willpower, simply because the distraction didn't exist yet. The absence of the phone wasn't a choice. It was the environment. Being unreachable wasn't a luxury, it was just Tuesday. Number 5, the Nokia that lasted a week, the 3310, the 3510i, the 1100. In 2003, Nokia utterly dominated the UK mobile market, with handsets that cost 50 quid on pay-as-you-go from Carphone Warehouse and worked flawlessly for years. You charged it on Sunday night and forgot about it until the following weekend. The battery lasted because the phone did 3 things: calls, texts, and Snake. There was nothing else to drain it. No GPS pinging your location every 30 seconds. No apps refreshing in the background. No push notifications from 17 services you forgot you'd signed up for. Compare that to a modern smartphone that's gasping for a charger by tea time because it's running 47 background processes, tracking your location, syncing your email, updating your social feeds, and serving you targeted adverts while it does it all. We didn't get worse battery technology. Battery capacity has actually improved enormously. We got better reasons to drain it, reasons that serve the phone manufacturer and the app developer far more than they serve you. If you were designing a device to demand your attention every waking hour, you'd design a smartphone. And that's exactly what happened. Number 4, the high street after school, Woolworths, HMV, Game, WH Smith, and maybe a Wimpy or a McDonald's if your town had one. After school in 2003, you'd wander the high street with your mates for an hour before going home. No purpose, no purchase necessary. You'd flick through CDs you couldn't afford, play the demo PlayStation in Game until the staff told you to stop, maybe buy a Freddo for 10 pence from the newsagent. Just being somewhere that wasn't home and wasn't school, with people your own age, in a space that wasn't designed to monetize your attention. Retail footfall studies from the British Retail Consortium show that high street visits by young people have dropped by over a third since the mid-2000s. The high street wasn't just a place to buy things, it was a place to be a teenager, to learn how to exist in public space without adult supervision. Now teenagers stay in their bedrooms because the bedrooms have become the high street. Except the high street didn't track their eye movements, harvest their data, or sell them things while they slept. If you notice this list connects to our video on the 15 things that disappeared from the British high street, you're seeing the pattern. These aren't separate stories, they're the same story told different ways. Number 3, the landline call. Your mum shouting up the stairs, "Phone." You'd pick up the receiver, stretch the curly cord as far as it would reach into the hallway for privacy, or if you were lucky, your house had a second handset upstairs, and talk to your mate for 45 minutes about absolutely nothing. Who they fancied, what happened at school, what was on telly. These calls had no agenda. They had no purpose except the purpose of being close to someone you liked. The landline was social media before social media existed. But here's what it had that nothing since has matched. It was real time, it was voice only, and it had your full attention. No multitasking, no scrolling while you talked. No texting 3 other people simultaneously on a screen below the conversation. You heard pauses, you heard breathing, you heard your friend laugh before they decided whether the thing was funny. Ofcom data shows that landline call volumes in the UK have fallen by over 75% since 2012. We replaced the most intimate form of remote communication with the least intimate. Text on a screen, stripped of tone, pace, laughter, and the silence between sentences that told you more than the sentences did. The landline wasn't just a way to talk, it was a way to listen. And listening requires the one thing modern communication has systematically eliminated: your undivided attention. You heard your friend's voice, you heard when they were sad or happy or lying. Now you get a thumbs up emoji and no way to know what it means. Number 2, the evening without screens. In 2003, your evening was structured by choice, not by algorithm. You'd watch whatever was on BBC One or ITV, maybe EastEnders, maybe a documentary, maybe something you wouldn't have chosen but ended up loving because it was simply what was on. And at 10 o'clock, maybe 10:30, you'd turn the telly off because there was nothing else worth watching. Then you'd read a book, make a cup of tea, talk to whoever you lived with about their day, or just sit in silence and think about nothing in particular. That silence wasn't empty, it was rest. Ofcom research from 2023 found that UK adults now spend an average of over 4 hours a day online outside of work. In 2003, most of that time was spent in what psychologists call unstructured leisure, the kind of low stimulation downtime that research consistently links to better mental health, increased creativity, and improved sleep quality. We didn't consciously give it up. There was no moment where we chose infinite scrolling over sitting quietly with a cup of tea. The options just appeared, one by one, and each one was slightly more engaging than doing nothing. Until doing nothing became impossible, because the muscle that lets you do nothing had completely atrophied. Boredom wasn't a flaw, it was a feature. And we deleted it without reading the warning label. Number 1. The version of you that wasn't being watched. In 2003, you were not a data point. Your shopping wasn't tracked, your location wasn't logged, your reading habits weren't sold, your conversations weren't mined, your face wasn't scanned, your attention wasn't auctioned. You were a person who moved through the world, leaving almost no digital trace. And that was just called normal. Ofcom reports that UK adults now generate an estimated average of over 1.5 gigabytes of personal data per day across their devices and services. In 2003, the number was effectively 0. Not because the technology to collect it didn't exist, it was starting to, but because nobody had yet built the business model that made your privacy profitable. That's what changed. Not the technology, the economics. In 2003, companies made money by selling you things. Now they make money by selling you. Your attention, your habits, your preferences, your patterns, auctioned in real time to the highest bidder, every second of every day, by devices you paid for, running software you agreed to in a terms of service document designed to be unreadable. This is the real loss. Not the gadgets, not the shops, not the phones with week-long batteries. The real loss is this. In 2003, your default setting was private. In 2025, your default setting is surveilled. And the shift happened so gradually that most people never noticed the moment it changed. Because there wasn't one moment. There were 20 of them. You just watched all 20. Now, modern technology is more capable. Obviously it is. Nobody wants to go back to Ceefax for their news, or a Discman that skips every time you jog. But capability isn't the same as improvement. Your phone can do everything, but everything comes at a cost. And the cost was this: ownership, privacy, focus, boundaries, and the simple right to be left alone. We didn't lose these things. We traded them. And the exchange rate was never explained. Which of these hit you hardest? Which one do you still miss? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. And if you're starting to see the pattern, if you're realizing that every so-called upgrade came with a cost nobody mentioned, then this is the channel for you. Subscribe. We just counted down 20 things from 2003 that vanished. But what about the gadgets that were supposed to be the future and failed instead? That's next. And the number one entry might be the most expensive failure in British tech history. Links on screen. Thanks for watching.